This is the content portion of your interactive notebook or binder. This first part is pre-1880 timeline. Since IB only has us focus on 3 of 18 topics, and we have selected to focus primarily from 1880 to the late 1970s, skipping over the Great Depression a little bit. I've decided to provide some context of important events that are going to directly and indirectly influence what we are going to study in this class. What these sheets are going to be really helpful for are for your background of T-Bear and for your introduction paragraphs. So make sure to come back to this. These are our topics and bullets that we study in IB history at Laguna. So this is topic 10, 13, 16. IB is only going to test you on the topic and the bullets. So this is our map and our guide that we want to make sure we always connect back to. Next up, a really effective way to study for history is through leaders. Now this class is history of the Americas, and so we are going to talk about more than just the United States, but the US is our primary focus. And so what we're going to do is we're going to study the presidents and break them down into some characterization so we can really get to know them. So these are sheets that we're going to continuously visit back and add to. These are things that you're going to add to on your own time. But make sure you're tracking your presidents. Students last year said this was one of the most helpful things. Now, we're tracking quite a few presidents, and so I printed out one copy of this for each of you because you might find that a different setup works for you. And so there are going to be quite a lot of blank pages. So what you can either do is go onto Google Classroom, and this sheet is available to you, and print off the copies, glue it in, or you can set it up your own way. So for example, that's what I did here in my interactive notebook. I provided these examples, basically the same except I hand wrote them. So that is one way you can do it. Just make sure you leave that space. Last but not least, for this portion of content, we are history of the Americas. Therefore, it is important to understand all of the Americas from Canada down to Chile. And the tricky thing with Latin America is there are a lot of countries. And so what you want to do is track the countries that are relevant to the focus of study that we are on, and then just write a quick note. So we'll keep one for each topic, topic 10, topic 13, topic 16. So what I just went over is like overall content. And now we're going to get into each topic and bullet. So you're going to do this for each time we have a unit. So the first page is always going to be the one-pager. However, you fill this out last. The next 7 pages are going to be you tracking information throughout our unit and then adding it to this at the very end, because those 7 pages are going to be, okay, I just condensed my notes to these 7 pages, and now I want to condense these 7 pages to 1 page as the most important things that if I only had 10 minutes to study, this is what I would look at. So then now going into the 7 pages, first up, like I said before, topic and bullet are the guide, the map. And so what we'll do is we'll write out the topic title, we'll write out the bullet description, and then every class period we'll add the important vocab or important content that answers that portion of the topic or that portion of the bullet. And I really suggest color coding so that way it's very clear where the emphasis of each bullet is in each section. Last but not least, at the bottom, set up a little section for content you are struggling with. That way you know this is something I didn't really get and that's what I'm going to focus on. You are going to get a lot of content in IB history, and so you need to learn to filter out what you feel confident about and don't need to spend time on, and what you are struggling with and need to spend more time on. Next up are section summaries. You need to go ahead and add a summary about 3 to 5 sentences for each. This is probably the thing that students hate the most, but it is very beneficial for you to process and synthesize and be able to practice your writing, and then also be able to look back at for quick reference. Then we have what I call the WAS. There are 4 W's and an H. So a 4 kind of looks, there are 4 W's, that kind of looks like an A, so WAS is what I call it for short. We're going to track important who, what, where, whens, and historical significance. So like I said, you're going to add to these at the end of every notes. I would, again, color code it. And then at the end of the unit, you'll be able to really tell, like, what were the most important ones, and we'll be able to create a one-pager for that. Next up, what you're going to track also, and I know this seems like a lot, but we'll be doing this incrementally. Most of the time your homework is going to be previewing the next lesson and then just kind of synthesizing and analyzing this lesson and just adding quick notes. And we'll have some time in class as well to work on it. History, we have a lot to know, so I use Make It Sticks, which are funny little acronyms or plays on words, just tracking them here so they're all in one spot. Key concepts are also very important to IB history. We have causation, consequence, change, continuity, significance, and perspective. So just intermittently throughout notes, adding examples of each so you have them to refer to, since you're going to want to be able to have one of those theming each paper 3. Last but not least, tracking historiography, the big debates and what are the debates. Breaking it down into questions, historical questions, and then what are the different arguments. So you will do that for each topic, or for each bullet that we do. And one last thing before I forget is I will lead this part with you every time we start a unit to make sure we understand. So that is your interactive notebook. I did mark a couple of pages here. I marked for where content begins, so that separates it, and then I put a post-it for the current bullet. So then like when we'd start the next bullet, I would move this post-it note. You could also add it for any of the other pages that you know you're going to want to continuously track information on. So this is your interactive notebook content. Hope this was helpful, and let's have a great year.